Anyone can look disciplined in public. You post the grind. You show the gym check-ins. You talk big about ambition. But when the camera's off, when no one's looking, who are you really? Because that's where it counts. That's where your real identity is built. In silence, in solitude, in the unseen hours. Most people confuse visibility with progress. If it's not posted, it doesn't feel real. If it's not praised, it doesn't feel worth it. But the strongest people, they don't need witnesses. They don't need applause. They only need the mirror. Because success doesn't care what you say. It only responds to what you repeat. And what you repeat in private. The habits no one sees. The effort no one claps for. That's your blueprint. That's what shapes your future, even when the present feels unnoticed. You can fool everyone else, but you can't fool yourself. You know when you've cut corners. You know when you've skipped the reps. You know when you've avoided the uncomfortable work, the writing, the reading, the early mornings, the cold starts, and told yourself it's fine because no one knew, but you knew. Every time you skip the work in private, your self-respect drops, not dramatically, not publicly, quietly, invisibly, until one day you wake up and you don't trust yourself anymore. You make promises you don't believe. You set goals you expect to fail, because deep down, your integrity cracked when the world wasn't looking, and you let it. The truth, you don't need motivation. You need to rebuild your relationship with yourself. And that starts in private. That starts with doing the work when no one's watching, when there's no reward, when it's just you versus the voice in your head that says, skip it. This is where the real ones are made, not on stages, not in posts, in rooms no one enters, in reps no one counts, in decisions no one claps for. It's the habits in isolation that echo in every public victory or every silent failure. If you want to become someone unshakable, start here. Do it when no one will ever know. Keep your promises in silence. Act like the whole world is watching, even when no one is, because your results are public. But the work that built them, that's all you, in private. Every day. Everyone wants the spotlight, but no one respects the shadows. You chase the recognition, the moment, the approval. But the version of you that earns those things, they're built in darkness. Away from the noise, away from the likes. In the boring, brutal repetition of private effort. You see the end result, the physique, the wealth, the success, and assume there was a breakthrough moment. But breakthroughs don't come out of nowhere. They're pressure built up over thousands of unseen reps. One habit, 1 hour, one hard choice at a time. Success doesn't respond to performance. It responds to consistency. And the people who dominate aren't the loudest. They're the ones who treat private effort like it's sacred. They train like the world depends on it, even when no one's watching, especially when no one's watching. You want the big outcome, then fall in love with the tiny acts, the early alarm no one sees, the skipped distraction, the lonely meal preps, the pages read in silence, the workout when you're sore, the journal when you're tired. These are your foundation, because what you do when no one holds you accountable is exactly who you are. Your private routine isn't separate from your results. It is your results. The public wins are just echoes of the private discipline you either built or avoided. And every time you cut corners, you're not just delaying progress, you're reinforcing weakness. You're telling your mind that effort is optional, that pressure can be escaped, that success is negotiable. And when that belief hardens, you'll sabotage anything you try to build. There's no shortcut here, no hack, no way around the quiet grind. If you want a life most people won't have, you'll have to become someone willing to do what most people never will. Work when it's thankless, push when it's invisible, win when no one's watching. That's why private habits matter more than public performance. Because it's easy to act committed when people are watching. It's easy to pretend, but real discipline, real identity, it's proven in solitude. So ask yourself, what version of you lives in the dark? Because that's the one running the show. That's the one creating your outcomes. And if you want the public victory, start by dominating the hours no one claps for. You say you want to be great. You post about goals. You talk about discipline. But your life isn't shaped by what you say. It's shaped by what you accept. And what you've been accepting in private. That's the real you. You don't rise to the level of your ambition. You fall to the level of your standards. And the version of you that skips workouts, breaks promises, scrolls for hours, and starts things you never finish. That's not a glitch. That's the system you've been running quietly in the background. You want different results, but you haven't changed what you allow. You still let not feeling like it be enough to stop you. You still let distractions steal your hours. You still lower the bar whenever comfort shows up, and then wonder why progress never does. Your standards are revealed by what you repeat. Not once, not loudly, but consistently, when it's quiet, when it's uncomfortable, when no one is there to applaud or punish you. That's where your real identity operates, in repetition. And if you keep saying you're disciplined, but skip the hard things when the mood dies, you're not disciplined. You're just good at sounding like you are. Your words can lie. Your patterns can't. The reason change feels impossible isn't because the goal is too big. It's because your standard is too low. You keep trying to upgrade your outcome without upgrading your expectation of yourself. You're asking your life to change while giving it the same weak input. Raise your standard and your habits follow. Not because it's easy, but because it's no longer optional. Winners don't do just enough. They build a life where their minimum effort looks like most people's peak. If you want to know what someone really believes about themselves, don't listen to their affirmations. Watch how they treat their time. Watch what they do when no one's there to impress. Watch what they allow themselves to get away with. You don't need louder goals. You need quieter discipline. You need a standard that screams, "I don't miss." Because at the end of the day, your life won't reflect your intentions. It'll reflect what you tolerated in silence. Integrity isn't a word you post. It's a standard you prove when it's boring, when it's hard, and when absolutely no one will know you did it. That's the difference between people who talk about growth and people who actually transform. You keep waiting for the moment to feel magical, for the motivation to come, for the stars to align. But growth doesn't happen in highlight reels. It happens in repetition. And repetition is boring. That's why most people quit. Not because they're incapable, because they're addicted to excitement. The strongest people, they don't need excitement. They show up anyway. They put in the reps when it's silent. They keep their word when no one is watching. Not for recognition, not for claps, but because they don't lie to themselves. That's what integrity really is. Doing the thing you said you'd do, even when the feeling that made you say it is gone. It's doing the work in private, because you promised yourself, and breaking that promise feels worse than any failure ever could. No one's watching. Good. That's your proving ground. Because when it's just you and the weight of your own word, you find out exactly what you're made of. And most people, they fold, not because of pressure, but because there's no pressure, and they can't perform without an audience. If you only give effort when it's visible, then it's not integrity, it's theater. It's not discipline, it's performance. And that version of you, it crumbles under stress. Because when no one is there to validate you, you go looking for reasons to stop. But those who win long term, they've built something else entirely. An identity rooted in action, not appearance. A mindset that doesn't need to feel like it. A reputation with themselves that says, I don't skip, I don't flinch, I don't lie to the person I see in the mirror. Boredom is part of the path. Silence is part of the climb. And the more you embrace it, the more you make peace with unseen effort, the stronger you become. Not just in results, but in character. You don't need more praise. You need more private victories. The kind no one sees. The kind that don't trend. The kind that builds self-respect so deep, it can't be shaken by failure or success. Because the ones who dominate in public are the ones who never cheated in private. You can say all the right things. You can post your goals, wear the gear, and share the quotes. But at the end of the day, the mirror doesn't care. It reflects exactly who you are when no one's looking. No filters, no edits, just truth. You want to know why your confidence feels off, why you keep second-guessing yourself. It's not because you're broken. It's because you're not keeping your word in private. You've made a habit of saying things you don't back up, and now your mind doesn't believe you anymore. That's what people miss. Confidence doesn't come from hype. It comes from follow-through. Quiet follow-through. Reps no one sees. Hard decisions no one applauds. Actions you took, not because you had to, but because you refused to be someone who skips. Your results are loud, but they were built in silence. In the mornings, you didn't hit snooze. In the reps, you didn't skip. In the distractions, you said no to. That's where greatness is forged, in the daily decisions that seem invisible until they become undeniable. You can't cheat this. You can't fake it. Your routine is honest, brutally honest. If you keep showing up, it will reward you. If you keep avoiding it, it will expose you. Either way, it tells the truth. So don't ask what others think of you. Ask what your routine says. Does it whisper strength? Or does it scream avoidance? Is it built around who you want to be, or who you've settled to be? Every day you're either building evidence that you're committed, or proving you're not. The work you do in private becomes the proof you walk with in public, and no one can take that away from you. Let others perform. Let them post. Let them pretend. You keep showing up, in silence, in the dark, when no one's clapping, because one day the results will scream so loudly, you won't have to. This is the Mindset Forge. And here, we don't talk about identity. We build it where no one's watching.